Greetings, YouTube. Today we're looking at the book This Is Your Brain on Music, The Science of Human Obsession by Daniel J. Levitin. And I picked this up for two reasons. One, I'm kind of interested in the topic at hand, both from the angle of understanding music and the angle of human psychology. And also, I played a musical instrument for 8 years, from 4th grade through 12th. And my mother-in-law teaches violin and piano, cello, things like that. So I'm going to be passing this on to her when I'm finished. And well, this kind of presented itself as being kind of a layman's introduction to the topic of our understanding of music and how music interacts with the human brain and the history of it and how it developed, which was developed first, music or language, that kind of thing. I was actually somewhat surprised at the academic nature here. I will freely admit that when he was discussing some of the topics dealing with the intricacies and technicalities of music itself, some of it kind of went over my head. And even though I played an instrument for 8 years and at one time could read music, I can no longer read music. It's like losing a language. He was discussing things that no one ever discussed with me. The timbre of music, things like that, while I was learning in grammar school and then in high school. No instructor, no band director, nothing. Even though I was in an orchestra and I was in a marching band and I was in a stage band. And I even went to a citywide contest at least once. Might have been twice, I'm not positive. We didn't win. But he discussed things that we never touched on. So it kind of made me realize how much I didn't understand, and also that maybe the people that were supposed to have been teaching me didn't do a very good job. But the book, while a little bit for me to chew on at times, was very well written and very interesting. The author started out as a musician, then moved his way into doing production work, producing albums and doing a recording process. And he worked with some big bands. He got to know them, and eventually decided that he wanted to go back to school. And went back to school and got his degree. So now he is a PhD and someone who has practical musical experience, both as a musician and a producer. So that kind of gives him a unique position to explore the topics of how our brains interpret and deal with music. And the most fascinating thing for me from the whole book, besides the name dropping and the inside stories and stuff, and that was kind of cool, was how we interpret sound in our brains. Now, if you look at a black thing, there is no part of your brain that says black or says rectangular. We interpret black and rectangular from different areas of our brain, and we bring it together into a cohesive picture. And we're not 100% sure how we do that yet. But if you play a 40 hertz sound out here, and you pick up that 40 hertz sound, your brain produces a 40 hertz sound. And if you have the right kind of instrument to pick up that sound wave, that electrical signal inside the brain, you could broadcast it to somewhere outside the room you're in, and they would be able to know you were listening to a 40 hertz sound. Our brains have evolved that level of accuracy. Sound is really important. It's far older than vision. To the best understanding I have when it comes to evolution and vision, it is quite possible that vision as we understand it evolved in a very short period of time, like 100,000 years, from being able to pick up gross movement, like shadows and things like that, to having what we would recognize as eyes. And it looks like it's happened more than once. I know of one case of there's a fish that has double eyes, and the two eyes are different from each other because they evolved at different times, and the evolution can only use with what it had. And so one eye looks up and has a different structure than the eye that looks down. Fascinating stuff. Okay? That's why the whole creation thing is just absolute bull. But sound is far older. And the author, I think, makes a really compelling argument that music existed prior to language. Because you don't need language to make music. You don't need a vocal box. You don't need anything like that. All you need to do is be able to produce rhythms and beats from objects in the world around you. You can hum. A person without vocal cords can still produce a musical sound by whistling. So you don't need language to produce music. And I think there's a compelling argument that music helped us develop language. This is a really good book, and even though it's not not a huge book, it took me a while to get through because, again, I found some of the stuff a little dense, but it was worth it. Some things I've encountered in my time where I'm reading the book and I'm like, okay, I'm just not getting this, or it's just not compelling me, it's not drawing me in. And you don't see those reviews because I don't finish the books. They get thrown into the donation box on the porch, and I move on to the next thing. Heck, I've been 80% done with the book before, and it said, I'm finished, and never finished the book. Then again, I've been 40 pages into a 500-page book and thought, I'm finished. So if you are into music, into human psychology, into the physiology of how we work, this is a book I think you're really going to want to read. And I'm looking forward to passing it on to my mother-in-law, who has a far better understanding of music than I do. She has a degree in it. She writes music, mostly fiddle music. So she has a much firmer base in this topic than I do. I don't know how much she has for an understanding of physiology and psychology, but that part of the book was not what I found challenging, so I don't think she's going to find it as challenging either. The stuff I found challenging was all the stuff about the music. She's got that down. So very much recommended. I enjoyed it, even though it was a little bit to chew on. I thought it was worth the effort. And as they say, you can eat a whale one bite at a time.